Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, my pleasure, our pleasure. And I know you're in Japan not just to talk to us. You have been spending a lot of time in Japan, and both of you are hoping to get the green light from the government to open an integrated resort in Japan. Tell me, what do you think your chances are? On a scale of 1 to 10, and you have to give me just one number between 1 and 10. You're laughing. I'm going to start with you.
Oh, no.
Jim, on a scale of 1 to 10.
8.
Ooh, pretty good. Now, this is going to get even more interesting. Higher or lower?
I think for me, it's probably 8 as well. We've been... Good. So let's.
Okay.
There are 3 cities. We're both interested in the major cities. We'll split
Flip
it.
a coin.
We'll split it.
Okay.
We'll take one each. It'll be great. No, I think for me, I've been, coming to Japan since the age of 5.
Yes,
the first time was 1982, and I've been here over 300 times in my life. I absolutely love it. But on a work level, been coming here working on this for the last 10 years plus. So, there's been a lot of relationships built.
Yeah. And,
I think that the important thing is, whether it's us or MGM or other global operators, is what's best for Japan. In terms of stimulating the economy, growing tourism. So, I think we're very excited. This is the greatest opportunity in my lifetime.
It's really the new frontier. Now, in terms of a city and where you're hoping to build your integrated resort, I know you brought the Blue Man Group to Osaka earlier this year. You sponsored a fireworks display over there, Lawrence. So I think it's fair to say, is that your first choice? Come on,
I'll speak for MGM, and we feel that our value to the country is best suited in a large metropolitan market, which is not to say that a regional market would not be successful. In fact, I think it would be, and I look forward to visiting. But MGM's focusing its energy where it can bring its MICE capabilities and its entertainment capabilities, and that would lead you in either the greater Tokyo, Yokohama area or Osaka.
What about you? Do you have a preference?
For Melco as well, we've made it very clear from day one that we'd be interested in the major cities as well. And from our standpoint, the cities need to have great infrastructure. And I think both Yokohama and Osaka have that. And the tourism appeal for international visitors. And the goal of having an IR in Japan is really to attract foreign tourists.
Yeah.
And so those 2 cities have by far and away the most appeal. I've been to the regional cities, Nagasaki, Tomakomai. There's a certain charm to it. I think every part of Japan, there's a certain charm to it. But, I think for us, for me, building a IR in Japan is more than just a business venture, given my years of appreciation of the culture. So I really want to build the greatest, coolest, most cutting-edge resort. And it's the major cities that can sustain that business model.
Well, and if it is Osaka, for example, you're going to have to move pretty quickly because they're going to have the World Expo there in 2025. Does that change your plan for Osaka then? Because you have this big event coming up 2025.
Well, first off, I think I could speak for Lawrence and everyone to say how happy we are for Osaka to win a very competitive process and get the World Expo. It would be of tremendous economic benefit to the prefecture and to the city. It's going to be very difficult. It's going to require a tremendous amount of coordinated effort between the private sector and the public sector to assure everything gets done at the same time. I like deadlines, and it creates focus. And certainly as the world looks at Osaka in 2025, we're hopeful that we could be a part of that process, and it's going to take a lot of effort, and I think that can be accomplished.
Where do we stand right now with the process of applying? Are you hoping to hear within a year, 2 years? What are you hearing about when you might actually know?
Well, the process is, there's a dual process that's going on. At the national government level, they've passed the implementation law, which was this past July. And, the next stage is setting up of a regulatory casino, supervision regulatory body. And I think they're targeting July of 2019. I think from that point onwards, then the ball really gets rolling. So potentially the first bidding will start in 12 or 18 months. And again, like Jim, it's great that Osaka got Expo 2025 because there's a lot of excitement happening in Japan. With the Tokyo Olympics in 2020, now Osaka Expo. There's the Rugby World Cup. So there's a lot of momentum going. And it's going to be super tight for Osaka because if the license is given out in 2020, there's only 4 or 5 years to build.
Immediately.
And, these are some of the biggest projects globally. You're talking about building 10 million square feet of GFA. So it's going to take time to build.
There's a lot of speculation about which local partners y'all might tie up with as you go ahead with this project. Have you signed with any local partners yet?
We've been in very active discussion, and we have a variety of letters of understanding with many different Japanese companies. We have felt from the beginning, and I think Lawrence feels the same way, but not all the operators do. We've felt from the beginning that Japanese partnerships were vital. It'll help me gain a greater understanding, appreciation, knowledge. We're naturally a partnering company. We do that everywhere in the world we operate. And so that's actually been my primary focus, is to meet with Japanese companies, large and many SMEs, small, medium-sized companies as well. And I think we'll have a very extensive, robust list of Japanese companies that will be a part of our consortium.
You're going to look to partner as well?
No, absolutely. A partnership is, fundamental to Melco. So every single project we've ever done has been in partnership. Melco started off in Macau as a partnership between myself and James Packer and Crown Resorts in Australia. In the Philippines, we're in partnership with the SM Group, which is the largest company there. And in Cyprus, we recently won a global competitive tender. And again, it was in association with the largest conglomerate there, CNS Group. So at every level of our company, we do focus on partnerships. So, of course, at the project equity level, but also on entertainment, we work with some of the best partners. Franco Dragon with our House of Dancing Water Show. We work with DreamWorks, Warner Brothers on other family entertainment aspects of it. So, like Jim, I spent a lot of time here meeting with, not just big businesses, but also small to medium businesses, because it's also important to get them involved. The moment, IRs are big projects, but at the same time, we need to get the support of the communities. We are big, if we're lucky enough to be chosen, we are a big member of that community. And so we want to get them inclusive and integrated as early as possible.
I know you all are very excited about this incredible opportunity, but I think it is fair to say that not everyone in Japan shares that enthusiasm. And at that moment, I'm going to ask you all to get your phones out, because you know what's coming. I'm going to poll you a question. And, this has been a contentious topic. There was a lot of controversy about it, some debate in Parliament as well, because at the end of the day, people will say, look, it is an industry that's based on a vice, on gambling. And I just wanted to check what people here feel about it. So should we allow casinos to open in Japan? Simple, yes or ooh. See, it starts. All right, so it's 57-42. So we're still at it.
We should keep this thing going to the end of the presentation to see how well Jim and I are doing.
Okay, that's pretty good, right? 66% in favor of it. There you go. There was a survey done in March this year, and 2/3 of the public was against it. So this is pretty impressive to see this turnaround. Now, both of you have also talked about the amount of money you're going to pump into the project over here, and you've both said $10 billion. Do you stand by that, $10 billion?
Well, it's a easy number to use because with what Lawrence mentioned in terms of the GFA, just doing any type of construction analysis in terms of what that would cost in today's dollars, it is right around $10 billion. It's difficult to have a specific number at this point in time, and it almost misses the point. The point is, what would be the project that would be best suited for the Japanese people? How big is the MICE facility? How many hotel rooms? How many entertainment venues between arenas and theaters? What does the food and beverage look like? What is the egress going to be for parking and mass transportation? These are building blocks that I'm sure Lawrence is working on, that we're working on, and based on our collective experience, we know that it would have to be at least yen 1 trillion to do that.
Are you thinking?
I absolutely. I think I've been saying all along that the opportunity is priceless, and given the GFA involved, and again, what we want to build here is the best and greatest ever. And a lot of our company philosophy at Melco is also based on Japanese philosophy: continuous kaizen, continuous improvement, and dedication to quality. So in order to build something of that scale and quality, it is going to be, $10 billion. For Melco, we've spent $10 billion in Macau. And, given the size and judging from the quality that is going to be required of us, I think that's a good figure to stand by.
Well, that's a big number, and I'm glad I got a chance to check, because sometimes, as you said, these figures are just thrown about, and you don't know whether it's how anyone can actually back that up. Addiction, that is a concern a lot of people have, and I was reading about how the government here is going to put some limits in place. There's going to be a $55 entrance fee, a limit on the number of times somebody can visit a casino in a month. How do you feel about these restrictions?
Well, I'm very encouraged by the government's approach toward this mental health issue. I think it was critical to address this clear-eyed and honestly. And the government has done that with the Gambling Addiction Countermeasure Bill, and we support that. We also support the regulations and restrictions that have been implemented to date. This is vital to our collective industry. We are only as good as a company as the integrity of the entire process. And I think this is something that Lawrence and I can 100% agree on in terms of how important it is to address this and fund not only education but treatment in those instances where people do have a mental health issue.
It's absolutely critical because from the way I understand it, there are three key objectives for IR in Japan. Stimulating the economy in terms of good governance and growing tourism, and so responsible gaming is a key component of that. And for us, in Macau and in Manila, we're the first one to use facial recognition in our properties.
Yes, right.
And so for Japan, we want to take it one step further. And so that's why we're working with our facial recognition technology together with blockchain technology and also biometrics to develop a system that, the Japanese government wants. And, we've always been great partners and great corporate citizens in any cities that we've been in. So we're fully respectful of the process and the fact that Japan wants the cleanest and strictest gaming market.
And you're also making a huge push to develop non-gaming activities, entertainment, etc., at your resorts, right? That's important for you to make it family friendly? Well,
I think that's the genius of Las Vegas now, isn't it? When 20 years ago, 70% of our revenue was gaming revenue. Today, 70% of it's non-gaming. Everything that I've done over the last 20 years is to develop non-gaming amenities. We haven't added one slot machine or one table in that period of time. We've built the largest and most successful arena in the world, T-Mobile. We've built theaters, music festivals, expanded MICE facilities, added hotel rooms. We've built esports arenas. And so Las Vegas have really evolved. Macau is on the same path. The efforts of Lawrence and ourselves and the other concessionaires are working squarely with the government's objective to diversify Macau as a hospitality center. And that clearly is going to be the effort here in Japan, where we could develop for the national tourists a level of entertainment that you might not be able to see otherwise. So, December 28th, Lady Gaga starts her residency with us. And after that, it's Bruno Mars, and after that, it's Aerosmith, and after that, it's... So to combine international stars with Japanese entertainers, to drive MICE business for the benefit of the country, to add hotel rooms when there's a severe hotel shortage is vital to what Lawrence was talking about in terms of the economic prosperity of the country, but also the quality of life of the Japanese people.
And Lawrence, you've talked about attracting premium mass. What is premium mass? I know what premium is, I know what mass is. What is premium mass?
Well, I think premium mass is a segment that we had pioneered in Macau. And, I think traditionally that, the numbers of visitors are going to come to Japan. I think when we first embarked on this journey, the annual foreign tourists coming into Japan was 5 million. And at the end of this year, it's going to be closer to 30 million. So there's been a significant increase in that. But equally important, in my view, again, given the number of times I've been here, is you want to attract the right type of customers. And in our opinion, premium customers are the right type because they have higher disposable income, they tend to be better, well-educated, and they've traveled the world more. So they can appreciate the culture, the history and heritage of Japan a lot better than people who are merely coming here for shopping purposes. So that segment of the market is a segment that we are very focused in anywhere in the world that we operate in. We're a market leader in that segment. And that's why we're very proud of the fact that our latest edition, the Morpheus Hotel at City of Dreams, was voted as one of the 100 greatest places by Time Magazine to visit 3 months after opening. We have the most Michelin star restaurants in Macau, the most Forbes 5-star hotels in all the markets that we operate in. So premium segment is very important. And again, considering how unique and amazing the Japanese heritage and also the architecture is, it really deserves a better tourist.
Jim, one question I've been waiting to talk to you about is gender equality. Now, you have been a big advocate for that, a male champion, and I was really pleased with this number, which is you have 88,000 employees worldwide and 45% of your managers are women.
That's correct.
That is absolutely an incredible figure, and I know you've been supporting gender equality in the workforce for a long time. It's something I'm guessing you will continue to try and do in Japan. The government here is making a big push for that, but the reality is that the business world here does remain very male-dominated. How are you going to try and achieve gender equality over here?
Well, I started my life on Wall Street, which was obviously a male-dominated field, and I saw what my wife had to deal with as a young executive, and how much harder she had to work than her male counterparts. And so 20 years ago, I moved to Las Vegas with the pitch, Lawrence, you'd love this. I go to Heather and say, hey, we'll move to Las Vegas, fresh start. So what did I end up finding in Las Vegas? A bigger good old boy network. The gaming industry is extraordinarily, in Las Vegas, was very male dominated.
Yeah.
So really, I've made it my effort over the last 20 years to try to make change. And you're going to have a brilliant speaker after our panel, Kathy Matsui. Yes. She coined womenomics.
Yes.
And I'm a big admirer of her work. So what do? We don't impose our culture on somebody else, but we can lead by example, and we could lead by experiences. Gender equality and diversity can't be something that you do, once a week or put it on your website. You have to be deliberate and determined. It starts at the top. You have to have leadership that cares about it. So 4 out of my 12 board members are female. And before I retire, the majority of my board members will be female. You have to hire people deliberately and give chances to people. But then you have to create a support mechanism so that they can succeed. Too often, people hire a diversity candidate and then they don't put in the mechanisms for them to succeed. And we've made that mistake many times early in our career. So creating an environment of inclusiveness and support and then leading by example and being provocative in terms of how you recruit. So recruiting outside of the gaming industry is vital to this. And so fortunately, we've become an employer that people want to work for, and so we're able to attract great talent. Here in Japan, there's a tremendous untapped resource of females that would want to work and could work if you create the right work-life balance and create flexibility around hours. We're in a 24-hour business. We are the ultimate employer, Lawrence and MGM, for people of all walks of life, all backgrounds, any type of affirmity that they may have. We can employ everybody and anybody. And it comes down to training. It comes down to deliberate action, and you have to lead by example. And I'm incredibly proud of the gaming and hospitality industry as a very inclusive industry, and we hope to be able to do that here.
Lawrence, you want to add to
Absolutely.
that?
You know, I think I have one child, is a 12-year-old girl, so I want her generation and future generations to be fully empowered.
Yeah.
At Melco, you know, given we're headquartered in Asia, you know, I think that stigma is even worse. But at Melco, we have 8 women on our boards, on our various boards, including a Japanese woman. And also, you know, 1/3 of all of the top corporate executives reporting to me directly are also women, and, you know, 40% of our management as well. So I think we're moving to, you know, we're aggressively moving to that direction. I think between us, you know, we should be, you know, leaders in this field to, especially, you know, in terms of assisting Japan to go down this path as well.
Jim, you know, MGM has suffered been involved with some unfortunate incidents, the Las Vegas shooting last year. How does a company rebuild from something like that? What kind of leadership do you think it needs that you've demonstrated? How does a company rebuild?
Well, I got my job in a different crisis. I was in the global financial crisis. That was when I became the CEO of this company. And we were a broken company. We had infighting, we had multiple cultures, we had destructive conflict within the company. And we set about changing the culture at the company to create one company, one culture. You can't do it overnight. And you have to be deliberate. I had to let a lot of people go. I had to hire new people. We created, I think, a collaborative, you know, very positive environment where people care about one another. I bring that up because when you're dealt with a crisis, whether it's a shooting or an environmental crisis like a hurricane or a typhoon, it's really critical to know who's going to be by your side, who is going to be, you know, climbing that hill with you. And we've had our share of struggles as a company, but because we train, because we get ourselves prepared, you never hope that something like this happens, but at least you have something to fall back on. And in that particular case, we had crisis protocol mechanisms in place. We deployed everything very quickly, and we worked with what mattered the most. Number one, the victims and the families. Number two, our employees. Number three, the community. And I think very few companies could have handled something if they hadn't had that type of culture in place. We've seen that here. When I visited the Tohoku region and see the resiliency of the people of Japan, that tragedy is already still being felt, and yet the resiliency, the courage, the resolve is palpable. And I think that it's a sign of what I love about Japan, but it's a sign of sticking up for one another and helping your fellow person, and that's what we try to do in our company.
Great. Thank you very much, and good luck to both of you,
as you
wait to hear whether you've got the bid or not. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.